Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today I've got 3 Riftbound decks that I've been able to build on paper. I've been pretty much playing the Riftbound card game every day since it came out here in North America. I've been learning how the game works, how deck building works, and I've been having a lot of fun, as well as doing some videos here. I've been doing some live streams, which if you guys want to see these 3 decks in action, I did a live stream earlier this week with Max DePera, which you can find linked in the description, and I kind of wanted to go over these decks just because, again, these are the ones that I've been enjoying a lot. I finally have them sleeved up in paper too, so it's cool to make a video off of it, and I just enjoy talking about this game and kind of going over like theory crafting and deck building in general. So if you guys are new to the game, you can make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the Riftbound card game now, so you can make sure to check that out. Also, you can check out my website, Eggman Events, where we can find a lot of deck lists. We can find the 3 we're going over today for the Sett, the Master Yi, and the Viktor, though. So these will be on the staff and creator deck section, but also if you go to the main section, we do have some official events, some unofficial community events as well. We will be getting the event data for the big events in Las Vegas and the 10K as well, so those are going to be on these sites as well when you see them. And then we also do have some tournament deck lists from some of like the Nexus nights and stuff that have been going on, so just a lot of deck lists for kind of people interested in kind of how the game works, especially since, you know, deck building is such a premium in this game. I think that having this data is really, really important for it. So again, if you guys want to see like just the deck list for these in general, it's going to be these 1120 versions of Sett, Master Yi, and Viktor. These are the builds here, so you can see them as well, just in case you need like an easy access for it. But since I do have all of these you know, sleeved up and ready to go, I do kind of want to do like a video on the overheads for it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with Sett. We're going to have it timestamped as well if you guys want to kind of just skip to the deck that you care about the most. But you know, Sett is the one that I care about the most if you've been watching any amount of content on this channel. So this has been my favorite legend by a long time. The fact that I got like the showcase out of my first box means a lot to me. He also he got released on my birthday, as in like the Sett in the League of Legends card game came out. So it just, there's a lot that goes right with it, and then I end up just enjoy playing with him. So he has this really obnoxious, strong and or obnoxious effect depending on which side of the table you're on. So when a buffed unit you control would die, you can recycle 1 and exhaust me to spend its buff and recall it exhausted instead. And then also when you conquer, you can ready me. So it means that there are a lot of decks that only kind of focus on removing 1 target a turn. So if that's the case, mostly Kai'Sa, like this has a really, really strong Kai'Sa matchup, and that's been really strong for this deck being viable in the first place. So that's kind of the idea there. We have 2 champions, and I think both of them are pretty good, but the one we're going to use for this one almost every time is going to be Sett the Brawler. So when I'm played and when I'm conquered, buff me, and then also you can spend your buff to give it the +4 might this turn. It's not once per turn, and then you know, you can buff it, you can attack into it, it gains the buff back, and then you have protection off this guy. Very, very strong combo, and it's been very good for us. So real quick, the 3 battlefields that we chose, and also, unless they say otherwise, all the runes for these are 6 and 6. Some of them can be sometimes 7-5 if you want to, but honestly, I haven't had any issues with any of this. Most of this stuff is pretty generic on what you have to use for it. But Candlelit Sanctum, this has been my favorite one. So when you conquer here, look top 2 of your main deck, recycle 1 or both of them, and put the rest back in any order. So this has been really great. Spoilers are running Karma in this deck, so this has been really good. We've got the Monastery of Harana. So when you conquer here, you can spend a buff to draw 1. So pretty clear, we do a lot of buffing. We use Showstopper with this. You know, we get to, you know, attack, conquer something, we can spend the buff that we got off Showstopper, and then since we conquered something, we get the buff back here, and then we get the card draw. So like it's like our best one by far. And so I kind of want to wait on this one to make sure like we have a turn that we really want to use this. And then we also have the Arena's Greatest. I've been kind of focusing on like these 2 are definitely the battlefields I like. The third one's a little bit open-ended. This is the one I've been trying lately. It's been not too bad, just being able to be like, I think we can be a bit more aggressive, so giving our opponent like 1 less turn is really nice. I have also been thinking about playing like the Vile Ma's Law is Vile Ma's Lair. So units cannot move here from here to base, so we don't really care about being stuck on a battlefield because we do have like our removal here, and it says specifically on the card too that it is not a move for sending it to base. So because of that, you can, you know, if you get your own unit, you know, KO'd or whatever, Vile Ma's Law doesn't prevent you from exhausting it back to base, but you know, you can prevent your opponent from you know, you can make it trickier for them to kind of defend the spot at times. So I think that's good. If you like that instead, you can, but I've been playing these 3 and that's fine as well. So going through the deck itself though real quick, So I think I have this. I do have it backwards for the spells and the units. All right, so we've got probably our best starter. It is the Cythria of Cloudfield. This just being able to get like our buffs every turn is really great. Sometimes you do need to spend buffs for this, or there's another card in the deck either. But just being able to have a unit that just this almost is like more of like a gear that just says, oh, I get to generate a buff on something that I can spend later every turn is really great. Our second best one is the Soaring Scout. Just the extra rune most of the time is helpful. We are kind of rune starved sometimes because we do have to recycle a rune every time we use our legend effects, so that does kind of add up eventually, but it's not too bad. So getting one extra rune off this can be good. And then Pit Rookie's really great. It's not necessarily the card we want to play on curve on turn 1, but if we have to, we do. But being able to buff your set, so what you can do pretty easily is you can spend the buff, make this an 8 might, play Pit Rookie, give the might again. So now it's at 12 might, and most things can't really address a 12 might card. So I think that's been really good and really helpful for it. So pretty basic stuff. I think 9 2-drops means that pretty consistently you'll see them in the early game. So there's that. For our 3-drops, these have been a little bit more experimental. So first mate, I think, is just an obvious choice. You get to restand something, so you can like move. So there's times where like a set is like at a battlefield and I want it to go to the other one. I move it back. I first mate. I can move it again to the other side pretty easy. But these two have been some of my favorite cards to play in the deck right now. Shen has been huge for how this deck has been successful. So it's just a reaction, shield 2 and tank. So being able to just play this onto a battlefield for 3 and get a +5 boost has been really helpful. There's a lot of times where this can just win the game, or my opponent will think there's something that they can do with it. There's also stuff where I'm playing like against green and they try to charm my only unit off a board, so I'm like, cool, on reaction I'll play Shen there, you move that over there, but then I'm still defending this. And 5 with shield is actually really great with Shen. So I've been finding a lot of success with this. And then also, this has been a newer ad, but I've been happy with it as well. It is the Pocket Cub here. So hidden, you can put this here into anything, and then you're able to help you keep a battlefield. The fact that you can only spend, you can play this for 1 react on a +3 on a board is really good too. Sometimes, like if we're going second, this is just sometimes like our weirdly or best play to play just out, and I have no issues with kind of how these work. So these are both kind of a bit conditional and you having to hold a battlefield, or be on a battlefield for you be able to get the effect, but that's not too terrible. Sett's really great at conquering battlefields, so you can usually get one every turn. And there are also this chances, or if you're playing against the Thousand Tail, these offer ways to interact with it, and get around the -3 gets to the board, right? So you can have this hidden, and then they can play the Thousand Tail, and then you can just flip it over, and then Shen gets a +5, and you don't really care about that too. So I think that's really helpful for those situations. So really great. I've been thinking about adding a 3rd copy of Shen. I haven't done it quite yet, but it's definitely on my mind. All right, so next up we've got our 4s. We've got 3 copies of Fiora, 2 copies of the Kiko Monk. We've got 2 Fiora, and then also the Sett here. So these have been pretty great as well. Kiana, I think, is a little bit like you have to find it on your curve to play, to get max value from it, but it also isn't like a terrible card to play off Showstopper, so I haven't been too upset with that. So that's been pretty good. Kiko Monk, just, you kind of have to play this card. The fact that it gives 2 buffs to things in a deck that cares about buffs is important, but I've been finding this card has been a little bit less valuable in comparison. It's just like sometimes it's like a medium-sized Pit Rookie and you need that. Sometimes you need to make sure that your set's big enough to go through a board, so you get that as well. With Fiora, I've been liking this a little bit less often, and if I was to add more copies of either Shen or Pocket Cub, I'd probably get rid of the Fioras to do so. But if you give this a buff, it becomes mighty, so then it has deflect and it has shield and it does have ganking, so all that is not too bad for that. So I think that's fine. And then also we have the Sett here. So this one, I've been playing this as at 1. Honestly, it's not too bad. So you get +1 for each buff unit at your battlefield. So sometimes you really need to hold a spot. This Sett and this Sett, this becomes a 5, and then this becomes essentially a 7. So you get 12 at a battlefield, which is just obnoxious against some decks. So sometimes it's not too helpful, right? Green can kind of like pick and choose your cards away from you, but I've been liking it as like a one-of add. But if you want to add more Shen or more Pocket Cubs, either Fiora or the Sett are good choices for that. So there we go. And then two more of this set shouldn't be surprising. This card is really good. It is kind of difficult to remove this, but sometimes your opponent can remove this by just kind of over committing to using resources for this normally, and then if you just play another one in the back, they're going to be really upset at you. So that this card's like never worse bad for this deck. The fact that you have another copy, 3 is fine. If for some reason if you don't have 3, if you're trying to do a budget build, you can technically get away with only one of these. I'll be honest. If you have and some people just play 2 of these. Generally these are the same card, this is just a different art. 2 I think would be fine too if you would. I think 3 is like a little bit of an over, but you know, it's a great card, so I don't think it's a bad choice there. So, and then lastly, our last unit is Karma. It's a bit of a divisive option, I think, but I've been really happy with the inclusion of it. So Karma here, so it has a 6 power, 6 cost, and then 1 might. Vision, when you play, look at the top card of your deck and recycle it, and then when you recycle 1 or more cards, buff a friendly unit, and it is an errata. It has to be one of your own. You have to recycle something to the bottom of your own deck, so you can't like use the sabotage or something, but he gets a buff. So one, the fact that it can buff itself is great. The fact that it becomes 7 might. Some decks have a hard time getting rid of a 7 might card, I'll be honest. So that ends up being really clutch for it. The fact that also if you have the Candlelit Sanctum, this does recycle on conquering. So because of that, if it will focus, you know, I normally when I play this deck, Candlelit is like my first one no matter what. I'll have 3 copies of Karma in the deck too to help, you know, capitalize off this. And then when I'm going into the second game, I side out usually 1 or 2 Karmas and kind of the sideboard cards that I need for the matchup, and that ends up being like really helpful for it. So I've been really enjoying the Karma here. The fact that it is 6 power, also sometimes like you don't really have like a great way to interact with that. Also a lot of the time, so usually on we like to go second, so normally we play this on 5, right? And then we have to lose, recycle a rune, so we're at 4, go to 6 at the start of the next turn, and then we can just do the Karma, play it, buff it again, and then you can go off with it. And this being in the back is really good. Also, extra copies of Karma. Fun thing, if you have a Karma out and you play a second one and you use the vision effect, you get to put 2 buffs 2 places, right? So that's actually huge for a lot of these situations too. So it can really get out of control if you see more than one of them. So I like the card. I've been playing it at 3 at the main, and I have not been upset with it. So that's that. And then lastly, our spells, Showstopper, probably the most expensive card in the deck, almost inherently, unless you're playing the signature legend, right? But this card, unfortunately, you need as many copies of this. I think you can get away with playing 2 copies if you only have 2, because I do know this card is a little bit expensive right now. But buff a friendly unit in your base, then move it to a battlefield, and then if it doesn't have a buff, it gets the +1, which we mentioned. It's just great. It's just so good. So it's part of the reason I've been really liking playing. Like Kiana on 4 is like not too bad, but like if you're going second, Sett into Showstopper, you get any battlefield you want. You get to protect it later. It's so good. It's so good. It helps you in so many spots and gets that early control. You start with you have a 5 might thing in a field, and then also you can protect it and then attack with it again next turn. It's just fantastic. There's no way to really say it otherwise. So the movement from this is great. There's also, again, times I think I mentioned this already, but sometimes like either like Fiora, I can give it the buff and move it, which is great. Kiana as well is really good for it too, because both of these become like 5. The fact that this has deflect is great, and the fact that you can as long as you're like in a good spot for it, I don't mind being a little bit greedier with Showstopper, just because Kiana does offer that card draw a lot of the time, or the rune if we need that as well. So all of that's just really great. We do also have 3 copies of Hidden Blade. One of the best, I think, hidden cards in the game, especially for yellow. So you can use this on your own stuff. There are also potentially tricky plays where you can be like, well, I'm going to Hidden Blade my Sett. I'll use my leader effect to save the card. I still get the card draw. And then after that, I can then move it from like Showstopper or something, or play like the Restand Pirate for it. So all of that's very good. Also, since we are playing the Pocket Cub, and now we have 2 different cards with Hidden, we can pretend which one is which. So there are some situations situations where you can kind of fake out your opponent now, thinking that you have a hidden blade, but you just have a pocket cub. So that does kind of make them play a little bit differently, which is really, really nice. We do have 2 copies of challenge. I can definitely play a 3rd copy of this, and if you like to as well. The fact that you can buff this, make this an 8, attack into somewhere, and then you take it, and then you get the buff again, and then you can challenge and get rid of something else. Like, there are just a lot of situations where challenge is like our best removal card in the deck. I think hidden blades is like a little bit better. It has to be a unit of battlefield. This can choose anything. Choose a friendly and enemy unit. So if you're playing against like Viktor, I would definitely consider playing a 3rd copy of this. We're gonna look at the sideboard in a second, but like it's great removal when we can easily buff this to 8 like every turn. And then Call to Glory. This card is low-key busted as well. So as you play this, you can spend a buff as an additional cost. If you do ignore the cost, to give something +3. So you're like, oh well, I'll spend a buff to give this +3, but then I lose the +2. Like, it's only a +2, and then I lose protection from it. This is why like the Cythria of Cloudfield is such a good card in this deck. So you can spend the buff anywhere. The fact that you can just say like, you know what, and your opponent will see like, all right, they're tapped out, I don't think they can do anything. I'm like, oh, +3, I win the game. Like there's been so many times where just because I'm tapped out, I can pretend like I have no counterplays. My opponent plays differently, and they don't play around Call to Glory. So again, you can use, like, if there's a buff on this card, you can use that buff to buff this thing. It still gets to the protection if it had a buff from it, so you get to bring it back. There's a lot of like sequencing and counterplay you get to do with this, and it's a +3, which is really good. Sometimes I do also just have the 3 runes up for the cost for it too, but like it's just really great for it. So, and it's +3 for the turn. So like there's some times where like I buff Sett and I can do like the Sett things, right? That is kind of helpful as well, but because this is like a bit of a Hail Mary, but there's been times where I'm like, all right, well, I'll spend the buff, I'll use the buff, get the buff, use Showstopper, move it, Conquer, I'll use like Hidden Blade on something, or Hidden Blade on it to bring it back, and then I can Showstopper the others. You know what I mean? Like, you can do some silly things in that kind of stuff, because you do get the protection off this, and then you Conquer again, and then you get to restand this. You get to do it's like it's the best case scenario, but there's a lot of cool things you get to do with this deck. So there's Sett. Obviously, this is the deck I've been playing the most. I've been having a lot of fun. I think the deck is really intricate, and I've been having a really good time. So real quick on the sideboard for this one. We do have 2 copies of Unyielding Spirit. Obvious if you're playing against Kaisa, very, very good card. We have 2 copies of Sabotage as well. If you're playing against something that has like Dazzling Aurora, this card is very good for it as well. We do have 2 copies of Salvage here. Again, so if you're playing against Dazzling Aurora, you just put these 4 cards in and be like, this will probably be enough to help me. Call of the Week is probably the weakest card in this. I did like this previously for Dazzling Aurora decks, but I think if I was to change it up again, I'd probably put maybe like 1 more copy of Challenge and maybe like 1 more copy of Shen in here. I think those could be cards that are really great. Shen being able to be good against blue is really helpful for those situations, and just getting like 5 might on a spot where your opponent wasn't expecting it is really, really cool. So but yeah, these are sideboard pretty generic. I think like these, honestly, like these 6 I think you kind of have to run, so that's kind of the other spot is up to you. But we do orange and yellow do have like some of the best like counter meta like stuff for the sideboard right now, so that's really important. So there we go there. All right, next up we've got Master Yi. Master Yi will be next. Spoilers, it is not a Dazzling Aura build. It is a I don't know, like defend the hill. I don't know the best way to name it, but it's the build where you play a lot of little guys. You get to get the board early, and then you kind of go from there. So I also think like this is like a medium cost deck, as long as you get, like, it depends on if you got Proving Grounds or not, right? That's the biggest thing for this. I think the most expensive card from this in this one, spoilers, is going to be the 8 cost. Like these are the most of the money in the deck outside of these 2, right? This card is a nice to have. This one is a little bit needed for it. If you have like 3 of these and you don't have this card, I think it's fine. But I think like the top end for the deck is pretty flexible. It's kind of like a bit of a win more part for it, so it's not as necessary. So for it, we do have Master Yi. Pretty simple effect. When a friendly unit defends alone, it gets +2 might. So there it is. And then we do have our legend unit, champion unit is the Master Yi. It gets to enter ready, it has ganking, and it's a 6 might. So honestly, just like a generically good card. Sometimes you do just need to be able to put a card on a battlefield, so you can just be like, boop, boop, and it's pretty easy. And then you get to defend it as 8, so not terrible for the deck either. Our battlefields for this one, we do play the Grove of the God Willow. If you hold here, you get to draw one. We are like the best deck in the game right now to get early holds, so that just is great for us. Like continual card draw. We have the Dreaming Tree. Green has some of the most target our own cards in the game, so being able to like get the draw from that is also very important. And then we do also have Targon's Peak. When you conquer here, you get to ready 2 runes at the end of the turn. This is the one. This one's a little bit more for me. This could be a bad one. I think again, like the first two battlefields are pretty automatic, but the third one is a little bit more of a flex spot. And you'll see kind of the reason I chose this one based on how my build works, and kind of go from there. So we have a couple units. Again, we do have 3 2 cost, and I think those are the numbers you have to use. Pit Rookie, again, never really great on Kurt, but sometimes you have to play for it. Clockwork is pretty nice just because it can offer like value in the early game, in the late game. Sometimes you do need that card draw if it will focus. So being able to just recycle 1 to draw is nice. And then this is clearly like our best card early game if we can get it. So the fact that we're 3 might defending, and then with our Master Yi effect, it becomes a 5 might card. This is, you just, if you go first, you play this and you move this, and unless your opponent has like, you know, like what a hidden blade or something, and that's still like in your value, you just get to draw every turn moving forward. Like it's crazy. Like this just generates you a lot of early advantage. It's really difficult for a lot of decks to like cleanly answer, and you get a lot of like you want to find this card every turn. Or every game at the beginning if you can. It's very good. All right, we do have 2 copies of First Mate, just because sometimes we do need to ready something the turn we play it, so that is kind of helpful for us. It's not as important, but sometimes there are times where like we'll notice we have like a Kiana, so sometimes like we want to move Kiana back, and then we play First Mate, and then we conquer the other battlefield or pressure it, then we get the effect from Kiana. So sometimes that is important. So we are playing for that. Here, let me get. I only have 3 copies of Kiana. So let me show you the real copies of them right here. So 1, 2, 3. We went over this card in the in the Sett deck as well, but it is it is a good card for us. So yeah, being able to, again, when you conquer here, with it, you get to draw 1 or channel a rune. Both are just great abilities. The fact we get to choose which one. The fact we have deflect means it's really good against specifically Kaisa as well. They have to spend like an actual, their spells have actual cost now, which is great. And, it's just been strong for us there. And then again, it can defend pretty easy. And then this has been a card that I've been trying and I've been pretty happy with as well, but it is a bit of a tech ad. It is the Sona here. So, when I'm at a battlefield, ready 4 runes at the end of your turn. So we have, again, some of the best defensive spells, I think, in the game right now. The fact that we are a 6 power on defense, and then we get to ready 4 runes every turn, your opponent's going to be like really, really intimidated to do anything at your battlefield, right? They're just going to look at that. They're going to be like, oh, you can have so many buffs, so many ways to interact with my stuff. I really just don't want to even like do anything with it. So this has been honestly really good. There's been like times where I play like Poro on 2 and then Sona on 4, and then I'll just be like, well, I'll just after, I'll leave the Poro there, and then afterwards I'll move it back and then put the Sona there, and my opponent's like, oh, why are you so mean? Why are you the way you are? Because now I have to try to get rid of a 6 might unit, and then I have all this defensive stuff as well. So top end for the deck though as well for it is pretty self-explanatory. We've got 2 Tasty Fey Folk. If you want to play 3, you can, but we got the 2. We got 2 copies of White Flame Protector as mentioned. Just giving anything plus 8 might is really great, especially like if you have like Master Yi on one battlefield defending and you keep it defended, you can play White Flame afterwards. You can have it gank on the other side, and that is casually 14 aggressively, so very good. And then we do have 1 copy of Dead Bloom because I only own 1, but again, I know this is like the most expensive card in the deck. If you do not have this card, do not feel like you have to buy it or you have to get it. It is definitely a little bit of it's helpful in some situations, right, having the deflect, but also being able to sometimes it just lets you get a spot that you weren't going to get otherwise, so that is helpful, but it's not, I don't think it's immediately needed. So don't feel like you have to you have to buy this card. I think White Flame is great. Like if you want to play like 3 tasty Fey Folk and 2 of these, that's fine too. But I do like the 1 since I do own the 1, so there it is. All right, that's it. So we've got all these spells in this deck because this is pretty spell heavy. 3 copies of Defy. I think this makes pretty good sense. There's a lot of decks that just play cards that get more value off the Defy than, you know, you really need their spells. Like for example, like Showstopper. Defying a Showstopper feels really good, and unless you're me and you're playing Sett, you feel awful about it, so you do have to be aware of that. We do have the Unguard here, so we give a friendly unit +1 this turn, then if the additional +1 if it's the only unit there, so great. We're almost always going to be alone. So for example, you know, we get a +2, so we have like an 8 might Sona or something. Very good. 2 copies of Charm. If you want to play a 3rd copy, you can. And you can also put a 3rd one in the sideboard, which you don't have right now, but you can if you want to. You just get to move an enemy unit. You get to move it to anything. Also, if you occupy a battlefield and you do use Charm, you are the defender because they are walking into you because of that. So you get the +2 boost from your Master Yi. So just a solid card for removal there. So again, if you want to play 3, you can. The build was a little bit tight for 2, so that's what we got for it. We've got 3 copies of Discipline. This is my favorite card in the deck. +2 might, and then you get to draw 1 on reaction speed, so you get to replace itself. It's very easy for us to have 2 runes, and we want that buff there most of the time. We have 2 copies of Rune Prison, which I've been having a lot of fun with. You get to just stun a unit, so sometimes they will actually have the numbers to beat your thing, and then you're like, cool, Rune Prison. You don't get the might there anymore. You don't lose your unit, but I get to keep the spot, and then I get to, you know, draw a card off my thing every turn or whatever. So 2's been a good number. I've been keeping it there. And then we do also have 2 copies of Zonya's Hourglass. If you want to play 3, you can. Most of the time too, this is really good to be able to just defend your Master Yi. This is sometimes like the best card in the deck. So being able to say, you know what, I'm just gonna have the Hourglass out, make sure that this is like the only thing that's easy to die, or just have it hidden, and then afterwards I get that additional benefit. And then 3 copies of the Find Your Center. So this card's kind of weird because it is an action. So there are times where, like, specifically I'll have a Sona on a battlefield, and then like there's, you know, clearly there will be times where like, oh, I can't, you know, they're not going to be able to do anything else. I can spend the runes that I left opened for this Find Your Center to ramp 1, and then also get my additional card draw as well. So I find that handy as well. This is the only ramp that we have in the deck. If you want to play more, I think there are some like other orange cards you can do for it, but I've been happy with this one. So it's a nice little combo for it. So which is part of the reason I want to try to put room for a 3rd copy of Sona, since again, you see all these spells, they're all great. Most of them can be played on reaction, right? Rune Prison's been really great too, the Discipline. And you can kind of easily defend your Sona a lot of the time because of that, and being able to get that continuous extra resources open has been really good. So that's the main deck. And then the side deck, again, pretty, I think, easy stuff. It's 2 copies. It's 4 copies of the cards that we said we had to play in orange, right? 2 Sabotage and 2 Unyielding. If you want to play Sabotage in the main deck, you can as well. We have Block as well, which is just like another great reaction action thing. So it's for 2. You can just have it as an action to give a shield +3 and tank, so that's great. And then also, you know, you can hide it and then you can turn it into a react, so being able to, you know, give the +3 on defense is fantastic. The tank part doesn't really make as much of a difference because you almost always will be solo defending a battlefield, but you know, you will have 2. There isn't reaction though if you don't have it hidden, so you do have to be careful about that, but it's not too terrible. And then we do also have 2 copies of Windwall. Again, since we're going to be pretty flexible with how many runes we have open, this can prevent a lot of nasty things from happening. So if you do also want to play like the legendary, I think it's somewhere around me, but that you get to take control of a spell, go for it. I think Windwall is just fine though, for what it is. So there is the deck there. And yeah, if you do want to add another copy of something like what is it, another Sona, and then also like maybe another copy of like Charm, Block is probably the card I take out, or Windwall. I think you kind of have to play these 4 though. These 4 are really good for what this deck kind of looks like and what the meta looks like, but we'll see from there. So that's my Master Yi deck. Again, it's not a dazzling Aurora build. I think the defensive build that we have here is really nice, and I've been really enjoying it. And then lastly, we've got our deck for Viktor here. So Viktor is my newest deck that I've been working on. I won't say it's my best deck, but it's been very popular. I think in China, it's been very good, and I think it's like the easiest deck to make budget. I think this is the cheapest deck that we have by a mile, and most of the cost of it is 2 cards, which are the Thousand Tail Watchers, which I'll be super honest, they are nice to have, but they are not needed to have if you're going to Nexus Knights and stuff. So I think this is a really affordable deck for anyone who wants to try to play into the Riftbound game. So first, real quick, the legend effect, pretty simple. You just tap it for 1, you play 1 recruit token, so you just get to make tokens, which is great. You always have a turn 1 play, so that's handy. And then also the Viktor champion that we use is the leader. When another non-recruit unit you control dies, you get to play another 1 recruit unit. So being able to just essentially convert your other cards into tokens is really good. I only own 1 of this, and so I'm only playing 1. I'd consider playing 2 or 3 in the deck if I had more copies of it, but it's not as required, so I think that's fine. I think this guy's also only like $10, so it's not super crazy for it, but I digress. Our battlefields, I think they're pretty, again, it's the same thing. 2 are pretty obvious. We do play the Trifarian War Cramp. Every unit gets here +1. You're almost always going to have more units than your opponent, so because of that, it stacks better for you. Arena's greatest at the start of your turn. This just makes the game a little faster. Everyone gets a point to start the game, so very good. And then Obelisk of Power, this is the one I've been testing a little bit more. If we get some early runes, we get some really good combos, and it seems like maybe weird to play this against something where we're playing against something like Dazzling Aurora, but this deck has a lot of main deck answers for things they play off Dazzling Aurora, so it's not even a really big deal. So all right, our units, again, we're playing 9 2-drops. We're playing 3 Raven Blue Student, which is just great, Soaring Scout, and then also 3 copies of the Daring Poro. So all these are great for what we're doing, and get some really good advantage. Also, this deck doesn't mind going second because we can play 1 of these and then a token on turn 1, so very good value there. For our 3-drops, we do have the Faithful Manufacturer, being able to use this to play a 1 recruit unit token here, so not too bad to make more tokens. And then we also do have the Vanguard Captain at 2 copies. I've been thinking about switching this because it's so easy for this deck to be well, I played a token and then I'm playing this, so now I have 3 tokens. This one might be a little bit better, also 3 might compared to 2, but it also does have a power cost, so not too bad. This 3/2 has been not too bad, but if you want to switch up the ratios, you can. We do have 2 copies of Shen because I did mention I love this card so much, and it's not too bad in this one. There are a lot of situations where you're just well, I need to defend up, I need to help get to the end there, and then also the fact that we can also be pretty flexible with cards, with a rune cost, so we can be there. We have 2 copies of Sprite Mother. This is not a terrible card. You play a Sprite active. There are a lot of times where, for example, let's say I play this with 5 runes. I can play this, can play a Sprite. The Sprite can, get a battlefield, and then I can put a token there. The fact that also tokens, the Sprite tokens don't count as recruit tokens, so if a Sprite token dies, this converts it into a recruit token. All of that's just very good, so I've been enjoying adding these. I have 2 copies of the Machine Evangel, so when it dies, you get to play 3 recruit tokens, so not terrible either. So I've been enjoying playing the 2 copies of this. The money of the deck is the Thousand Tail Watcher. I do own 2 copies, so I do play 2 copies. If I had 3 copies, I wouldn't be convinced that I would be playing 3 copies of it. And again, you do not need this card to play the deck. This is the majority of the cost of the deck as well, so don't feel like you need to. But I have been, it's obviously a really good card, right, for a lot of reasons. So we do play 2 copies because we do have the 2 copies there. So those are all the units. Again, we don't have to be as heavy on the unit side because we do generate units off of our legend, but our spells, we play 3 copies of Stupefy, draw 1, and that also gets you into range for stuff is good. Hidden Blade, you can use this to pop your own units to draw 2, which again, we're going to have so many units, so it's not too bad. Cold to the Weak, they're going to have a lot of, we're going to have way more units. We can say we're going to kill a recruit, and if we're playing against Dazzling Aurora and they only have 1 unit out a turn, this does a lot of work there. 2 copies of Smokescreen, give something -4 for this turn, so there are just a lot of situations where you can get a removal that your opponent wasn't expecting for just the 2. We are playing also 2 copies of Sprite Call. I've also kind of noticed that in a meta where I don't want it to be obvious what my hidden card is. So if I'm playing Hidden Blade. I have been enjoying playing extra cards that can be hidden. So Sprite Call is not obviously that bad either. So it just says, hidden. You can play in an action. You can play a 3 sprite unit with temporary kill at the start of controller's beginning phase. So it's kind of like a pocket cup, right? Which is not too bad. The fact that it makes a token that dies means you can get another recruit off your 4-drop. The fact that you can hide it and then you can just get +3 on a battlefield for the turn is good as well. So there's just like a lot of flexibility for how the usage works for it. And sometimes like you don't mind to be like, you know what, I'm on 4 as well. I'll be all right. I'll play Sprite. I'll do something. I'll play a 3-1. I'll get a unit. Like you can get both battlefields. So for example, if you play anything, including like a token on your first turn, you play it out. You conquer 1 battlefield. On 4, you play this one. You play the sprite out. You move it to the other battlefield, and then you use this to put a token over there. And so now you've got both battlefields very early, which is great. And then you can start like kind of defending from there. So I think there's a lot of situations where that can be helpful as well, and not too shabby of a card. So I've been liking it that. And then one quick kind of decision making. So I'm playing Imperial Decree. There's also Grand Stratagem. Both cards are almost interchangeable in my mind, but I've been playing this one a little bit more, just because it says when any unit takes damage this turn, you get to kill it. So Grand Stratagem, give everything +5 is nice, but there are some times where like you still have to go like more than 1 for 1 unit at a time. So this is being like anything takes damage. Cool. Well, I'm going to now put one of my recruits. I'm going to attack my 1 power recruit into your 100 power whatever. Doesn't matter. We both did 1 damage to each other or whatever, and then your unit still dies because of this one. So the fact that it's also at action timing, I think, is a little bit more important too, where your opponent's going to be like, oh, like we're not always going to have 5 open. This is going to be a little bit late game, but they're going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to try to attack your thing. You're like, cool, Imperial Degree, and then we just trade, and you lose your unit still. So that I think is still great for the deck. I have been enjoying this one. If you like the Grand Stratagem, play it otherwise, but I've been okay with this one, so I've been testing that one out. And then lastly, Singularity. There are a lot of really good 6 HP units that we can just pressure with this. And if we're already ahead on the battlefield, we can just choose 2, get rid of 2 things. And then your opponent's like, well, I still can't do anything, and they still have the battlefield. So just great card. And there are some decks that really care about having these units. So that is what that is there. So for our side deck, we've got 2 copies of Retreat. This is helpful for getting our Viktor out of a spot where we get KO'd otherwise, and it does help us ramp 1, so that is good. 2 copies of Salvage because we're playing yellow, and we can, it's really good against also Dazzling Aurora, though again, I do think like Cold of the Week helps us with that. 2 copies of Vengeance in case that's like important enough, and then also 1 copy of Imperial Decree and Singularity if we need that as well. This one's probably like the weakest card for the side deck. It just kind of felt like it was not a terrible card, so we put it there. But this is the deck I have the least amount of experience with, but it is very fun. The way that it works is really unique, and I think it's great for anyone trying to get into the game because it is pretty cheap. And if you are able to get a starter deck to get like the beginning pieces and go from there, you're in a really, really good spot. So anyways, I've been rambling for like 30 minutes or so over the Riftbound card game, but again, I've been having a lot of fun with this game. I think there's a lot of decks that are very viable right now. These have been the ones that I've chosen in the first couple weeks and having a lot of fun with. And honestly, like I know that like Kaisa and Yi are like really popular. I know that one of my deck is Yi, but I haven't had a situation where I feel like any match is like impossible for me to win. I feel like the decks I've chosen have like a good spread for what we can do for it. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys are looking forward for your own decks, what you guys have been playing, and we'll catch you all next time.